as Mika made her way down the stairs, quickly finding herself in the docking bay once again, but now much differently than before. Before, when she traveled through the stairs, it seemed like quite a long trip, but this time it seemed almost a direct route, taking only a short time to make it there. Well, that was shorter than normal. Yes, the floating silver ball vibrated, emitting a voice once again. Since you went to bed, I have done a significant amount of remodeling, and moved your quarters closer to the central location of the ship, which is the most fortified, and will decrease your travel time from your room to the rest of the vehicle. Well, good on you. How did I sleep through that? Mika said, looking over to the silver floating orb. Oh, it was simple. I moved your room very slowly in order to ensure that I did not disturb your rest. An object moving a slow or short amount of distance over a long frame of time can still cover a fairly wide range. For instance, a ball, even if it's only rolling 1/10 of a mile an hour, will cross a room over a fairly short amount of time, regardless of the fact that it's not moving quickly, so long as it continues to move. The same method was applied in order to move your room. Well, okay, I suppose I get it, Mika said as she began to look around the docking bay, now seeing that all of the members of the crew that had been gathered from the ship were there in the docking bay, scattered about and looking a bit ragged. Wow, we made pretty good time getting here. I mean, I just went to sleep and woke up and we showed up here. Even the Delta Drive shouldn't have been able to get us here that fast. Yes, well, the Delta Drive was simply not functioning optimally. The poor condition of this vessel was holding its capabilities back quite a bit. But after my remodeling and updating, the ship was able to attain its maximum flight speed using the Delta Drive. So we made it here much faster than you would have if you were traveling in the original vessel. Nearly twice the rate of speed. Wow, you just keep impressing me, Mika said, crossing her arms and looking over at the silver ball. You know, we've been talking all this time, but I still don't have a name for you. What's your name? Unfortunately, if I did have a name, that information has been lost, the silver ball replied. So I have no name. You're the captain, so if you wish, you could give me an identifying marker. Something of your own choosing. Of my own choosing, huh? Mika said, beginning to scratch her chin a bit. How about exovol? Exovol. That was your father's name, correct? The silver ball replied. I recall it from your memory databank scan. You had a great deal of respect for him. Yes, my dad was a good man, and many of the people of my village respected him highly. In fact, even his namesake spoke of it. In my culture, your name isn't something that you get at birth. It's something that's passed down to you from those around you. Once you become a certain age, people begin to identify you by a name. Until then, you're simply referred to as child. A child of this person or that person. One is not truly a member of our culture until you attain your name. My father's name, Exovol, means the brave one. Yes, but doesn't it also mean the foolish one? The silver ball vibrated back. Yes, you're correct. Exovol means both the brave one and the foolish one. It changes depending on what context you use it in. And the word is the same because bravery and foolishness are often one and the same. To risk your life for the life of another, regardless of the situation, is foolish. and yet it is brave. The two are one and the same. That's how our people see it, so the word is the same. So, Mika, am I brave or foolish? Well, Exovol, hopefully you're a little bit of both. After all, my father was too. But I suppose we have other things to get to. Starting with this band of ragabands. Hello, I'm glad to see that you all enjoyed your rest. And I hope you're all ready for your little trip, Mika said as she looked to the side to see a large custom-made vessel that looked like it had been reforged from one of the transport vessels that they had loaded in the transport bay, which they used to transport goods and materials. Apparently, Exovol had moved it there. It was big enough to fit the members of the crew comfortably. Okay, according to my ship, Exovol, all of you are about to take yourselves a little trip. Our first destination has been reached, and all you need to do to get there is hop on board the ship. It's been loaded with food, supplies, and a communications device. Yes, Mika, the floating orb said, getting her attention for a moment. The planet itself is known to harbor several predaceous animals, predatorial animals, sizable enough to bring harm to an individual. For this reason, I have loaded the vessel with a lockbox containing a few small firearms for self-protection. This lockbox will only unseal once they reach the planet's surface. I wanted to bring this to your attention now, in case you desired me to remove it. No, you can go ahead and keep it on there, Exovol, Mika replied. I'm not a complete monster. I don't want them being eaten alive. If that was the only thing I desired, I would have just had the ship drop them off instead of leaving them with it. It'll also serve as fair shelter, in case of intense weather and things of that nature, Mika said, as she began looking towards the crew of the ship. She was about to tell them to board it, before she took note of a specific individual within the crew, one that she had come to know better than the others. His name was Rainy. He was a small, somewhat cowardly kid, probably about 16. He got picked up by the crew some time ago, stranded aboard a derelict ship that, wouldn't you know it, had been attacked by pirates. Their crew attempted to salvage parts from the vessel, and in doing so, found themselves one scrawny little half-starved kid hiding inside of a torpedo tube. Unlike most of the rest of the members of the crew, he was far from a hardened criminal. He was just a stranded kid who didn't really have anywhere else to go. Honestly, Mika had completely forgotten about him until that moment. She, as a more active member of the crew, rarely got to see him, as most of his time was spent skittering around repairing whatnot he could around the ship. In order to earn his keep, he was often bullied by the other members of the crew. But Mika couldn't afford to be nice to him back then, at least not as nice as she really wanted to be. She had to play the part, but now no longer restricted by the perceptions of others. She saw an opportunity to do something nice for another person. Mika had spent so much time hurting people as she was a member of this crew, doing things that she, quite frankly, was ashamed that she did. But for the sake of her own vengeance, she bared the burden. To be honest, she still often found herself thinking about all of those things quite regularly, and though her dream last night was bothersome, it was only one of many that had begun to fill her mind since she decided to board this vessel.